Well, stretching comes into the exercise category. Key law to remember, law of training, is flexibility, stability, strength, power. If somebody has not specifically addressed the flexibility imbalances in their body and they're moving on to any other phase, critically stability, well, like I say critically stability because the next one in the stage, if they're in strength or power, then they're in serious trouble. But I mean, just taking it to the level of stability, it is physically and mechanically impossible for somebody to become functionally stable if they have muscle imbalance patterns in the body that haven't been addressed. 80% of all people, if not more, even those that aren't at the moment experiencing injury, most likely have this fundamental imbalance, and that's an imbalance in the skull, an imbalance in the curvature of the spine, and a twist in the pelvis. So it starts with the skull, spine curves, pelvis twists, and what we have as a result of that, if you imagine, if the pelvis is twisted, then all the muscles off that to some degree have to compensate. If the spine curves, all of the muscles associated to the spine, which are a complex multitude of deep spinal muscles and those muscles that come into it, if we imagine that the spine is the mast of a ship, all of those muscles have to be in compensation. All of the neck muscles have to be in compensation if there's an S curvature in the neck, which there has to be if the rest of the spine is curved. So we're talking about the vast majority of all muscles in the human body, to some degree, provably and measurably, being in compensation for the large percentage of the population of human beings. So if then people are doing generic stretching, so they are stretching their bodies, doing a hamstring stretch, doing a quad stretch, that's all good, and you're going to get some benefit from doing that, for sure. In fact, you can get very significant benefit from doing that. But if you're an athlete and you're looking to get higher levels of performance, then that stretching has to be specifically applied to the human body in a measured way, in the correct ratios and balance, so that you're working towards correcting your mechanics. And if there is a muscle in the lower back that's short and tight on one side and long or weak on the other, even marginally, if you put that person in an environment where they can't stabilize, i.e. a core stabilization exercise where you're forcing them into a position where they're having to stabilize their body, then they're going to shorten the tight muscle, is going to get shorter and tighter, and the long weak muscle is going to get longer and weaker, and that's just exactly how that operates. If you're working on power training and you've not truly balanced your body, you're marching towards injury. If you're working on strength training and you've not truly balanced your body and got your flexibility properly addressed, you're potentially marching towards injury. There are a high degree of variances in human beings' resistance to injury. I've seen many people who I would presume or look at and would think, Jesus, that person must be injured, and in fact they're not. They just have a very high degree of resistance to injury. But I would say that's a rarer example. Men tend to be more resistant than women. There are a huge number of variables, and we could discuss it for hours, but flexibility is definitely an essential foundation to the exercise component of our 6 fundamentals.